Welcome to Beyond Rockets. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Clark Dunn and I'm your host. Get ready to enjoy some awesome conversations from Huntsville locals about cool work they are doing right here in the Rocket City. You can connect with us on social media at Beyond Rockets, and if you're interested in doing a podcast yourself, I'd love to hear from you. You can visit my website, beyondrockets.com today, or connect with me on LinkedIn at Clark Dunn. Sit back and enjoy this episode of Beyond Rockets.
Everything I liked except the way she talked to me every day.
This episode is sponsored by Relogic Research. Relogic is an engineering, aerospace, and technology company dedicated to solving our nation's toughest defense problems while investing in the bright minds of Huntsville. Relogic is excited to be a part of the innovation and continued growth of the Huntsville community. Visit their website today to see what they are excited about at relogicresearch.com, and all of this information will be in the episode notes.
This is Chandler Wicks, founder and CEO of Relogic Research. We're very excited to partner with Beyond Rockets and further support of their already outstanding contribution to the Huntsville community.
Well, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is it's gonna be a fun conversation. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about what it is you do. But to get started, would you like to introduce yourself, and we'll kind of begin there?
Sure. So, hello, everyone. I'm Ashley Hunt-Poole, the CEO and founder of Mocktails for Mommy, Alabama's first and only mocktail beverage company that's Black and female owned in Alabama.
Oh, so I know you're not originally from Huntsville. Huntsville was not originally home. Talk a little bit about your journey to come here from St. Louis and kind of what sparked that transition.
Absolutely. So being in St. Louis, if you know anything about the city, it's not quite as safe as you would want it to be. And so I just had like an epiphany in my life. I had just had my son. And I was like, I gotta get out this city. I gotta move. And I just kind of used whatever talents I had to get out the city, which just so happened to be singing. So I came down here to Alabama to audition for college, like to sing in the choir. And that is what paid my tuition. And that's what got me down here. I got pretty much a full scholarship, full tuition scholarship, paid for everything, and like packed up my bags with like $1,500 in my pocket. And my dad packed up my little Suzuki truck, and we put a U-Haul on the back, and we drove like 15 plus hours to get down here.
Wow. And so so like, is the early 20s when you moved down here?
Yeah,
or,
I was 20.
20.
Yeah.
Prior to coming down here, did you have any preconceived knowledge of Huntsville, knowledge of Alabama as a whole? Like, or did you know anything about the city?
Listen, so I never even thought of moving down south. That wasn't like a thing for me. From someone that's like from the Midwest, you know, you hear things about the South, right?
For sure.
And so this guy that I actually worked with, he went to Alabama A&M, and he kept telling me, because I kept saying like, I gotta get out of this city. He kept telling me like, you need to go to Huntsville. It's a great town, great family town. Like, you will be able to thrive there. And I was like, I don't know. I've heard. He was like, listen, Huntsville is not like, you know, the other cities. Huntsville is like this place. It's like peace. You need to go there. And I just kept telling him like, I just don't know. I just don't know. And then I said, you know what? If I get this scholarship to help me pay for school, I'll go. And then when I got it, we left.
So around what year was that when you first came to Huntsville?
I came down here in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even like 2014, Huntsville was becoming kind of what it is today, but it was still very early on. I mean, I think a lot of the growth we see today, in my eyes, started 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
Right before the pandemic, a couple of years before. And then obviously since that, just the growth is insane. It's Huntsville looks completely different. I mean, I couldn't like.
It's amazing though.
It's amazing. I love the city, and I love what's been being done here.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little like piece of the South that most people that aren't from the South or familiar with the South don't really understand or get. And then when they come down, they're like, this is not what I expected.
This is awesome.
Yes, it is great. So you come down here to sing. That gets you the scholarship. That gets you down here to Huntsville. What were you doing kind of in the years leading up to launching this mocktail business?
So, believe it or not, I've worked like 32 jobs my whole entire life.
Wow.
Being a entrepreneur has always been like a thing for me. And I've had other businesses like if you know anybody that knows me, they will tell you Ashley used to sell like some of everything, makeup, lashes. I mean, you name it, shirts and things. Like I've always had like a hustler mentality. And I had to because like working at school, making like what was it at the time, $7.25 an hour, it just wasn't enough. So I've always had that hustler mentality. Like let me try to hustle up some extra money to pay bills because I was a single mom. So leading up to Mocktails for Mommy during the pandemic, I was working, but it just wasn't enough. And when I say enough, I mean from a mental perspective.
It wasn't fulfilling enough of what you needed to kind of like you were enjoying it. It was fine, but it wasn't fulfilling enough of what you needed.
Yeah. And we were all stuck in the house, right?
It was tough.
It was so depressing. And at that time I was pregnant. I was pregnant. I was depressed. And it was a lot to take in because this was like the first time I think in over 100 years we've dealt with a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Like just a pandemic in general. My mom got sick during the pandemic. She ended up having to go into a medically induced coma to keep her from basically dying. It was a lot that hit me. And then my last trimester, I ended up getting COVID. And it was a lot. So while I was going through this whole thing, I found a way to help me cope. And Mocktails for Mommy was a way for me to cope.
Yeah.
Literally.
And so this entrepreneurial itch that you've kind of always had, did you have mentors or family members that were entrepreneurs themselves that you saw kind of that lifestyle that they were living or like the work-life balance? Or it was just like, hey, I need to hustle to make ends meet. I need to hustle just because I enjoy it.
Yeah. I would say my family, they're definitely 9-to-5ers. They're 9-to-5ers, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't see the vision.
For sure.
And a lot of people that I've talked to, I honestly feel like before the pandemic, being an entrepreneur was not really a thing. It was there, but it wasn't like,
it was to go to college, get a degree, get a 9-to-5, and then retire when you're 65.
Yeah, that's it. And that was it. Like I always have had that fire. So like when I told my parents, like I want to do like this whole mocktail thing, they were just like I don't think they didn't believe in me, but I just didn't think they saw the vision. I don't think a lot of people saw the vision because what I'm doing is kind of unheard of, right?
For sure.
So I didn't really have mentors except for Google.
Hey, I mean, it's a great mentor to have. I mean, I think nowadays, I think even through the pandemic, it was more evident than ever that if you want to learn something new, learn a new skill, like the internet's there, like YouTube videos exist.
Absolutely.
Like Reddit forums exist. Everything exists out there to kind of start something. So you have this, you're stuck in the house during COVID. You're pregnant, you're expecting, and this idea for Mocktails come about.
Yes.
What had you enjoyed Mocktails in the past? Were you familiar with them, or was it just like out of like need for something that you craved? This was what it was a good fit.
Yeah, it was definitely a combination of like all the things, but I really was craving like a really good drink.
Yeah.
Because before pregnancy, I was definitely like, not gonna say a party girl, but I like to go out and have a cocktail every once in a while. But I couldn't because I was pregnant. I'm like, I gotta come up with something to do. And I don't know. And I had found out that I was having a girl and I wasn't too thrilled about having a girl because girls are attitude-ish. And so I was just like, babe, grab the camera. Like, I don't know. Let's make a video of me making a drink. And he was like, okay. I was like, I don't know. Just grab the camera.
Press record. And let's just figure it out.
And see what comes about. Like, I'm going to make this drink. And so like my first video was, it was a version pina colada, and I called it Mother's Milk. That was the name of it. And I felt like so many people reached out and was like, what you're doing, you don't see it yet, but you are going to change so many people's lives. Like I literally had a friend reach out and I kept telling her, I was like, girl, I literally am just doing this to keep myself motivated and just to do some stuff. Like I never in a million years would have thought this would turn into what it is now.
So if you were to think back on like that journey of like the initial launch, the initial start, you obviously probably didn't even have like a name for the company. You were just doing this because it was fun and it was keeping yourself busy. Is there a moment during that time that you can think back on and say like, that's when things changed? That's when like either a switch was flipped or something happened in this, creating this content that then led you to kind of like, hey, maybe this could be a brand.
I think when everybody kept saying like, you're on to something.
Just eventually like more and more people found out about it.
Yeah. Like it was one of those things. I'm not going to say an overnight sensation, but then kind of is an overnight sensation because I started the whole idea in 2020. I didn't officially launch my very first retail ready product until 2023-ish.
Wow. So were you even packaging any of the stuff prior to that?
So before that, I was like making like mocktails like in bottles. Like I would just sell them and just to see how people would like us. I would come up with these weird recipes. I'm like, look, I want y'all just to try them, see if y'all like them. And like people were like, these are so good.
So where were you selling those things to begin with? Like farmers markets or
yes, farmers market. And so I'm the type of person like Instagram, Facebook, farmers markets, like, hey, I will meet you. I will bring it to you. I want you guys to try it. I went and got like my licensing, business license and everything for it. Had a commissary kitchen, all the things. And so that's kind of where I started. And people were like, this is so good. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, this is good, but what do I need to do to get this retail ready? Because what I'm doing now, of course, is I know the packaging's not right for retail. I know the formulation or how I'm making it is not going to be shelf stable for it to go into retail. So I was like, I got to start looking up how can I get this ready for retail.
Wow. And so I guess 2023 was when did it start in 2023 or did 2022 you were like really working on making it shelf stable and making it ability to be packaged and in stores and because that process of you making things, 2 days before a farmer's market and selling at the farmer's market wasn't going to be the same thing when you go into a store and it's getting shipped and it's going through transportation and it could sit there for a little bit.
Absolutely.
And so at 2023 comes around, what was sort of the first, how did you begin getting this product bottled, having a good shelf life to then be located into some big retailers now?
Yeah. So actually I made a quick pivot in the product itself, right? So initially I did have a product before this one, which was the same thing, Mocktails for Mommy. And it was like a strawberry margarita. So I got that bottled up and I had a whole not pitch, but had invited people to come in, try it. I talked about my journey and I also told people it's very expensive. So beverage industry is very expensive.
Oh yeah. Especially in Alabama.
It's very, very expensive and getting things bottled, processed. I mean, I was spending probably about $6 a bottle to get it produced. It's very, very expensive. And I'm talking, it's like a 16-ounce bottle.
Wow.
That's expensive. So I had to take a step back. The product was great, but it just wasn't what I wanted. So I ended up doing a wine festival called Crush Wine Festival here in Huntsville. And while I was there, I ended up seeing representatives for another very, very, very large wine brand. You guys might know them, Stella Rose, I think is what it's called, Stella Rose or Stella Rose. So I went over and I'm like, hey, I'm Ashley. And I am really interested in creating my own non-alcoholic wine. I think I can do it. Because while I was there at the event, there weren't any other options for people that are sober living. And at the time, I've already had my daughter. And then another point, I found out I had issues with my pancreas. So I actually can't drink at all now.
Wow.
So that's part of the mission too, because I can't drink at all. So now I feel left out. And so while I'm there, I'm talking to them and I'm telling them I have this idea for a alcohol-free wine brand and I'm going to call it Mama, right? At first it was called Mama, I Love You at first. And so I'm talking to them and one of the representatives said, but why? She said, but why would you do that when we have a product that you can use? And she actually gave me like 2 or 3 bottles. And I don't know if she did it to discourage me or just because she's a sales rep. But I took that as a fire, like under me. I was like, I gotta listen, I'm gonna figure this out. And so I started calling wineries all over the United States.
Wow.
I'm talking dozens and dozens and dozens of wineries. Like, I gotta figure this out. And I knew I only had like a small budget. I'm talking like $500. That's all I had. And so I would call them and I'm like, hey, I'm Ashley. I got this great idea. I want to make an alcohol-free wine, because there's a difference between alcohol-free and non-alcoholic, because non-alcoholic for the most part still has a small percentage of alcohol in it or traces of alcohol. Like, I want to make this alcohol-free option because I know like people like me, when I drink non-alcoholic wines and whatnot, I still kind of get sick. So I'm like, I want, like, I got this idea. I'm like, if you just give me a chance, I'm telling you, it's going to take off. I had so many doors slammed in my face. They were like, "Ha, not alcoholic. I'm alcohol free." Like, like they would, like,
Wow.
like it's not a thing. And then at that time, statistically, the non-alc beverage, like beverage in general, hadn't taken off yet.
Yeah.
And so like I'm just like calling. I mean, my door, the door kept getting slammed in my face. And then I just so happened to stumble across a winery up north. And I'm like, listen, I'm like on the phone crying. I'm like, look, $500. I have this idea. If you guys give me a chance, I promise this product, this idea that I have for this product is going to take off. And the lady that I was talking to, she was like, oh my gosh, I love this idea.
And you're like, this is the door I needed. It's open.
Because you only need one.
Yeah, you only need one.
Literally, you only need one.
Wow. And so this was 2023.
This was 2022.
Okay.
Because we officially launched the product January 2023.
Wow. Okay.
So 2022, started researching all the things. January 2023, I officially launched Moscato Peach. Was my very first product. And it was a hit. People loved it.
So you worked through that winery and created it. So they handled the production of it?
They handled the production for me.
And then you created the recipe and created how to actually, what it tastes like. And then they bottled, shipped, and made sure it was.
And we go back and forth, right? So they might come up with 5 different samples for me, right? I try them and I say, oh, I kind of like the notes from this, kind of like the taste from that, but I don't really like this. So let's see if we can go with sample B. And it's a conversation back and forth, because they're so far away. I can't get up there. So UPS and UPS and FedEx and all the things are like my best friend when we have to, ship things back and forth. So yeah, it's a tango, if you will, back and forth to get what you really want. And so when we launched Moscato Peach, it was a hit.
Yeah. So that Peach Moscato, what retailers, where did you begin? What were those first places you were selling it?
Oh my gosh. So my very, very first place here in Huntsville that I sold Moscato Peach is the Wine Cellar.
Okay.
And I say this every time. Brandy and Jason are amazing people. If you haven't heard about the Wine Cellar or been to the Wine Cellar, it's such an amazing place to go, right? So I'm like calling around, and my story is kind of the same, right? Like I call around, I try to get people just to give me a chance. And every time I get the door slammed in my face, they were the first people to say, like, because at the time I was like, well, it's a case pack of 12. And I remember on the phone talking to Jason, and he was like, well, I probably won't be able to do 12 because, you're new. We got to kind of test out the product. He was like, let's see if we can start you off with a half a case. And I was like, if you start me off with a half a case, I promise those bottles will get sold. They got sold.
Wow. And so
you only need one.
Yeah, you only need one. And so that door opened. You get this product. You get someone locally in your own neck of the woods to sell this product.
Yeah.
Where was the journey and the steps following the Wine Cellar for locations in Huntsville? And how did it basically in the last was it the last year, cultivate to then now being in Sam's?
So I basically utilized being in the wine cellar because I knew that they were a reputable business, right? And sometimes that's what you have to do, right? You have to utilize the people and the places that are going to help you get to the next step. So I would tell people like, hey, I have a product and it's in the wine cellar. And I would have people say, oh, well, if you're in the wine cellar.
This episode is sponsored by Yellowhammer Brewing. Yellowhammer is a local craft brewery serving Huntsville for the past 14 years. They are known for their premium craft beers like their T-Minus and Rebellion, but what you might not know is they also offer spirits, wine, seltzers, and non-alcoholic drinks. Next time you stop by their location, try one of their seasonal cocktails made with the Gemini Bourbon or Yellowhammer Vodka, or try this year's big hit Pineapple Punch Seltzer. You can find out more information about Yellowhammer Brewery by visiting their website, yellowhammerbrewery.com, or visiting their tap room located at Campus 805. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors that help make this podcast possible. Now back to the episode. So you go from being in the wine cellar as a kind of your first retail location here in Huntsville. They're the first ones that give you the opportunity. You start selling it. You start at 6 and quickly grow from there. How did you go about the journey to then end up now in Sam's Club?
Yeah. So really, I started off being in the Target Accelerator program. And being in that cohort is an amazing opportunity because you get to learn the retail industry, which is something I knew nothing about. I didn't know anything about retail. I knew my product was retail ready because we had already landed in 6 locations locally. So I knew it was ready for retail. I just didn't know how far we could go. And so being in the Target Accelerator program, it's about 30 businesses that get selected and you learn from the best in the industry. And I'm not talking about just from just a marketing perspective. You learn a lot in 10 short weeks.
Wow.
And you're online for probably about 3 hours. I think we're online for 3 hours. And it takes a lot out of you, especially being a mom and a wife and working full time. But it is so worth it. So while I was going through the program, I actually ended up applying to pitch to Walmart and Sam's Club.
Wow.
And I ended up getting picked to pitch to both. And so literally while I'm in the target cohort class, I was pitching the same day.
Wow.
And so any and everything that I had learned up until that point, I implemented into our pitch. It was one of the most incredible experiences ever. We drove all the way to Bentonville, Arkansas.
Wow.
It's a long drive. It's a long drive. Yeah. It's 8+ hours and wow. I hate driving. So me and my husband were like, oh my gosh. But we went, I had my pitch deck ready. I had, at that time, Target gives you mentors. And I ended up getting one of the best mentors ever. His name is Paul, and he actually owns a canned cocktail business. And so learning from him was just amazing. And when I went to pitch to Walmart first, the buyer, because you go into the kind of how the experience is, you kind of go into a room and you have a pitch deck and you know your numbers and everything. And so when I went into the room and I have a very big personality. So you're either gonna get a song and dance, you're gonna get something. I'm either gonna have my bright pink lipstick and my crazy hair and colorful outfits, because that's so much part of my branding and me as a person. And so when I went in there, I think they weren't expecting it, but we didn't get a deal. Walmart initially told me no. They just said that they felt like I wasn't ready, and so. And in that moment, I felt very crushed. I was dang it. We came all this way and I just really thought we were ready. And so I was crying and everything. And I just started calling mentors. And I ended up calling one of my sorority sisters who actually had products in Walmart. I'm on the phone talking to her and I'm just explaining to her oh my gosh, they told me no. She's it's going to be okay. And I call my other mentor and I call Paul. I'm so I'm just, and they're listen, you still have another shot, which was to pitch to Sam's Club. Now, what a lot of people didn't know is before that, I was told you're not going to get the deal with Sam's Club. like from someone. They were like, because Sam's Club is very pallet driven. You got to have like thousands. And that is what discouraged me. Which is not something I'm not typically easily discouraged, but because this is unknown territories, unknown waters, I was like, yeah, I'm sure they probably know what they're talking about. But everyone that I talked to was like, no, this is not you. Pick your head up, go in there and fight for this, because this is what you this is what you want. So I went in and we pitched and we got the deal.
Wow. And because and that pitch was the same. Was it the same time as you were pitching Walmart, since they're owned by they're owned by each other?
Yeah.
And so it was like one room was Walmart pitch, one room was Sam's pitch.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. So that was, I guess, 2023, 2024,
2023.
Okay. So
this is last year.
You land Sam's. They say yes.
Last September. Yeah.
Okay. So you land Sam's. What does that production process look like to then now be in Sam's Club?
It's crazy because everything had to shift, and everything had to shift very quickly for me. So what a lot of people don't know is that I am self-funded. I don't have any loans for my business at all.
Wow.
I actually work a full-time job to help pay for my business. I work at NASA. So, hey, everybody out in NASA. So, I mean, that's what helps me to fund my business. And we had to make a quick pivot.
Was the winery prepared for the production levels that you needed to support Sam's?
Not at all.
Wow.
And so in a very short period of time, we had to actually find another winery.
But at that point, the doors probably weren't closing as quickly because they knew you were going to be in Sam's.
No, that didn't help.
It didn't help at all?
It didn't help.
Wow.
And the reason is because of the particular product that I'm creating. Not everybody can make it, and not everybody is willing to make it because it's alcohol free, which means we don't want our product touching anything that has any alcohol.
Yeah.
Like completely alcohol free. So to be able to find a company that, one, can bottle an alcohol-free product and to do it quickly and to keep up with the numbers and to have a storage and all every time a new something, and they have to have a loading dock. I mean, have to be able to, do pallets. Like that changed everything for us. And so it actually made it extremely hard.
So you land this huge get. You finally land Sam's. This is a huge opportunity. You have to leave the winery you're working with. You're trying to find other wineries that fit the criteria that Sam's requires.
Yeah.
How long did that process take to actually get that winery, and then from that moment to then actually go to Sam's and see your stuff?
So I started looking the moment we got the deal. And we got everything finalized and bottled up, ready to go late May.
Wow. So from September of 23 to May of 24?
Yeah.
Wow. And so when that May of 24 hit, how many Sam's Clubs were you in?
So initially we were supposed to go into the whole state of Alabama, because they do for my product, because one, if anybody knows anything about Sam's Club, they don't sell anything alcohol-free or non-alc. They don't. I'm literally the first product that they are putting in play in the wine, wine section. So what they call my product is a test product, but it's a product that's there to stay. They want to see if it makes sense to add more non-alcoholic beverages. So if you can perform and outperform other beverages that are on the market or on the shelves, I'm literally opening doors
for other companies to come in.
For other companies to come in. So they started me off with the whole state of Alabama.
Okay.
Then during the whole logistics, because one thing about Sam's Club and Walmart, if it don't make sense, it don't make sense, and they're not going to do it. And I love that because they're very strategic in everything they do. Very strategic. And I've learned a lot when it comes to logistics and getting things they do all kinds of things, all these different freight factors and all, I mean, like they have engineers that test boxes to make sure your box is like up to standards to get to where it needs to go.
Wow.
Like it's amazing. So 13 stores, and then they reduced me down to 10, but it opened me up to 3 states.
Wow. So what 3 states are you currently in?
So Alabama, Arkansas, and Louisiana.
Wow.
So that was a strategic plan on their side. And I appreciate it because it has helped me to open doors to communities that don't necessarily know my product and to test and see if people are willing to buy it.
Yeah.
Are.
Wow. And you've now if I'm correct, you've now gotten into some Walmarts too.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
2025. So when I went back, so again, this is like how just things work. I don't know if it's my personality or favor or what. But I got a call or got an email from Walmart and saying that they wanted me to be included with this it's kind of like a mentor program in a sense for when they do open call. And just imagine, have you heard of Milo's?
Yeah.
You know who Milo's is. Yeah, like everyone knows Milo's. You heard of Dude Wipes?
Yes.
So imagine being on a call with brands like that.
Wow.
I was in shock to know that I had been included. Me being this small little beverage company in Alabama, just, I'm just here, just me self-funded, but to be able to be in the same space as these multi-million-dollar brands. And so they invited me to come and pitch not really pitch, but to encourage the other people that were pitching and to tell my story and all the things. Like, it was amazing. So when I came up there, I just so happened to meet with the new beverage buyer for Walmart. And I basically pitched to him. He gave me.
So 2025. Wow. So you'll be in Walmart and Sam's in 2025. And then locally, people that maybe are listening or watching, Wine Cellar still?
Wine Cellar, Wine Rack, Star Market here in Huntsville and Meridianville.
Okay.
Oakwood Farmers Market, Janelle's Books and More out in Decatur. And I feel like there's more.
And the product line's grown substantially. When I was looking through your website, I was like, oh my goodness. There's so when you're shipping, obviously, like you can also buy the product online on your store, on your website.
Yeah.
And there's a huge array of options and flavors.
And we're adding more.
And how do you go about, do you just test kind of what flavors work best in Sam's and stuff like that? Or how do you go about delivering? Is it kind of what they think would work best? And then you're kind of just fulfilling that?
Yeah.
Is there like a common, like the best seller? Like if someone's listening and they've never tried your stuff, is there a best seller that like is like your staple?
Moscato Peach,
okay.
Which is my very first product. And
it's still stick around, same recipe?
Still, no. So we did change it over.
Okay.
Because again, you have to meet certain criteria.
And I guess changing wineries too.
Yeah,
it changed a little bit.
But honestly, it's 100% better.
Ooh. Okay.
In a good way. And not a bad way, because my other winery, I still work with them too, because you want to keep those relationships. And I love them because they were the first to give me an opportunity. And I'm so big on the people that help me. I'm going to stick with them and I'm going to find a way to still bring them in. That's a part of my strategic plan. If you've helped me to get to the next level, somehow, some way, I'm going to figure out a way to connect you in to something that I'm doing. And I think people appreciate that because it's the authentic side of me. It really is. Like I appreciate everyone that has helped me to get to this point. I didn't get here by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, people believe in my mission and my vision. And so,
I mean, it's incredible just to think in, 4 years, you go from doing these fun videos to creating this product, to then finding this winery, to then being in one location in Huntsville, to then now being in Sam's Clubs in 3 states, and then soon to be Walmart in 2025. We're recording this the end of 2024, November. We're recording this. It'll release beginning of December. What is the holidays? Is there things that people can experience in the holiday season with Mocktails by Mommy that week that's unique to this time of year?
So we are releasing, by then we'll be able to release our red wine. That has been a request for a very, very, very long time because my specialty is like sweet wines. I like sweet wines and sweet sales. And like that's the thing we say in the wine industry, sweet sales. But I've had so many people wanting a red wine, like a dry red wine. And I said, I think for the holiday season, that would be something really nice to kind of release for the people that have been truly following me, and it's something that they've been wanting. Like you have people that say like, "Hey, I really want to try your wine or I want to support you, but I don't really drink sweet wines." I'm like, okay, so I got to figure out something
kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, bridge that gap. And so it's called Sangria.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people are going to really
And it's
love
already
it.
on your website, right?
It's on there, but we haven't started bottling yet.
Okay, because I remember looking at it and I was like looking through it with my wife, and I was like, look at all the different, like there's so many different options.
And
the
coloring,
early December is when you're going to start packaging up and shipping that.
Yes.
And so if anyone's listening and they want to try that, the best place here locally would just be your online store, or will the wine cellar and other locations have that?
So we'll pitch it to them and see if they want to bring it in. With product placement, it kind of just depends on the store, you know, and that's kind of like
if their clientele fits that. And like, and I guess all like you've been in these local stores for a while now.
Yeah.
So they're able to kind of see in the response from the customers themselves.
Yeah.
And so like, as people are buying the product, hey, is there other things you would like? Oh, I would love to have like a dry red. Actually, in December, we're looking at having one. And so you're able to kind of like lead them into this path of then having this opportunity to then have something new. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just crazy. This is just like such
insane.
It's insane. And like you're doing all this in Huntsville.
Yeah.
Like you're managing, where's the new winery located that you use?
It's in Connecticut.
Okay.
It's far.
You gone up there before? Have you ever visited the winery? Wow. Is there like, do you want to visit the winery and like see
I'll go up there eventually. Yeah.
And like see the production of your own stuff?
It's expensive to get there. Like, and that's one of those things. It's faith. Mm-hmm. It's really faith. Like I trust them with this product. And they trust me with utilizing them. And it's a mutual partnership. And yeah, it's just trust. Like you have to have so much faith that things are just going to work out, that it just works out.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously the Walmart in 2025 is a huge thing. It's a huge, that process of getting into that it's been long awaited.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in it and having a whole new, maybe even in different states than you already are. And so like that just kind of spreads. Is there any other goals or aspirations you have for 2025? Do you see a path to where the mocktail business is your only job? Or do you think this the balance that you try to create with both is kind of what you enjoy? Like you enjoy elements of both?
I would say I definitely enjoy elements of both. Like I said, the job that I work now is amazing. And I tell people, like, even if I become this multimillionaire, I'll probably still work because I'm really a workaholic too. But in the future, I would like to turn Mocktails for Mommy into like a thing, like just completely branded, like me being on the cover of every magazine, like just in my mocktails too, because it's so needed. And I feel like there's so many people that are looking for this product and they're looking to be seen and heard and included when it comes to like the alcohol space and the non-alc space. And so that's my goal for 2025. We're going to knock this out of the park.
Yeah. I mean, I think the non-alcoholic business has had a huge boom in the last year and a half, I would say. I mean, you've probably seen it firsthand.
Yes, we're up like 30%.
But like, I mean, like non-alcoholic beers, like Athletic Brewery is big.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you mentioned them because
so good.
I got to meet.
Really?
I got to literally meet the founders.
Wow. That's amazing.
They were at Walmart.
That's so cool.
Like there.
Yeah,
And
I love their stuff. I love normal beer, but like occasionally it's nice just to have a non-alcoholic. Yeah. And I typically always have non-alcoholic in the fridge.
Yeah.
And so Athletic I love. And I love that breweries in town, almost every brewery sells Athletic.
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing. And I see the product that you sell, restaurants. And I think I mean, I'm thinking through my like Rolodex. I'm like, who can I put in your path that are like cool restaurateurs here in town?
Absolutely.
That would just, or even other wine shops that I've had on the podcast. I mean, I think the non-alcoholic business, I think Tom Holland just released his own non-alcoholic beer.
It's a thing.
Like it's a huge thing. But wow. I mean, I appreciate you being here. This is an incredible product, incredible story.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, we'll have links to everything in the episode notes. So if anyone's listening and they want to find out more information, they want to buy the product, all of that will be there. So if you can just visit the show notes and learn more.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Beyond Rockets. Don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen and on YouTube at Beyond Rockets. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Beyond Rockets to stay up to date with new episodes as they are released. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.